Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Red Letter Yellow Letter podcast, a weekly anarchist, voluntary, agorist variety podcast where we talk about and philosophize the morals and ethics of everything going on in the world today, tomorrow, and in the future. I'm your host, The Nev, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host, as always, and fellow anarchist, Harley. Harley, how are you today?
Not too bad. Everyone, I'm sure, is feeling ready to punch the government in the dick today. So I feel like I speak for everybody when I say that, because it's been a little crazy lately, and people have in fact been trying to punch government in the dick. So I swear I am not behind Q. They were not taking my advice personally. You know, don't blame me. But with that said, if you feel like punching government in the dick, I won't stop you.
I'd rather punch big business in the dick, to be perfectly honest with you.
They're in bed with the government. It works. That's like punching the government's like creepy uncle or something. But yeah, so it's been a little whack lately. Conspiracy theories and what ifs, and the little edit photos with rumors of my friend who has a friend in the military said this is going to happen is all over back. So all across social media again, like crazy. I've been getting a lot of my I cannot talk right now. Bloody hell. A lot of my more normie friends have been reaching out to me, showing me like images, saved memes, etc., saying like, the government says that they might be doing this, and military people say that this might be going on, and showing them to me and asking if I can confirm any of it. Mm-hmm. Does this sound legit to you? Have you heard anything about this to back up these claims? And also, that's been a decent chunk of my week as well.
Yeah. There was some great hypocrisy. Gotta love the hypocrisy this week. They have been giving us some good, the powers that be and the people out there have been giving us some great stuff. You remember that senator that said, when unrest, whether it's, riots or civil protesters that get out of control, and when that happens, the National Guard should be used to, quell it and calm it down and chill things out. You remember when that Republican senator said that and the left went nuts, and an editor at the New York Times got fired, and everybody at the New York Times said, that's disgusting, that's vulgar, you should never, ever, ever use the National Guard for issues regarding civil disobedience and civil disorder. And now it's like, so are you going to rehire the New York Times editor that quit? And is everybody that criticized him for allowing that op-ed to be said now going to apologize and say, you know what, we were wrong, the National Guard should 100% totally be used in situations regarding it? Because it's literally, it's like, we don't want it for situations that, for the situations that were occurring, several months ago, during the summer and towards the end of the summer, and everybody on the left was like, no, it's evil, it's bad, you shouldn't use the National Guard for stuff like that. And it's now, oh, we must use the National Guard for this. And it's like, you literally got a editor harassed so much at the New York Times for an op-ed piece that they quit. And now all of a sudden you're for it. So that, that was just for me, that was a delicious piece of hypocrisy. That was a delicious piece of hypocrisy that I just snaffled up and eat up. That happened this week. So I just thought I'd mention that one. That was my favorite bit from the week. Aside from everything else that went on in the week, that was just I love highlighting the hypocrisy. It's like, and it used to be, the hypocrisy used to be spread apart by years. Now it's literally spread apart by weeks and months, and it's just, it amuses me. It amuses me. And as you said, yep, there's lots of conspiracies, because everything's a conspiracy now. The media seem to be incapable of reporting or saying anything objective. Everything is subjective, and because everything is pretty much subjective, it's like, well, that could be a conspiracy, and that could be a conspiracy, and that could be a conspiracy, and it's like, oh god, everything's a bloody conspiracy because we don't know what is objective fact or what is just subjective opinion because everything just gets like really molded into one thing now. So yeah.
Well, I don't even necessarily mean it in that regard. I just mean a lot of fear and people afraid of what laws are going to be passed. Is the National Guard going to be used for, to attack civilians in some way? Are we going to have to prepare for another shutdown, more hoarding, etc.? Like it's really more speculation and just trying to figure out what to prepare for. There's a lot of misguided. Well, I don't want to say misguided. They don't know where to put their fear. They don't know where to put their time and their focus and their resources. They're just anxious. They know things aren't right. We've already had some instances of hoarding cases, and not being able to buy this and that, and threats of being without power for a couple of weeks, threats of National Guards being on our streets. And since we've already gone through all of that, some of which came true, some of which didn't, it's just more like, okay, is it going to get worse now? And is this going to be what finally makes it happen? Is this going to be what finally pushes it over the edge? But does this really have any truth behind it? It's just a lot of confusion. And which in a way is kind of a good thing, because the confusion, I mean, it's definitely very heavy in the liberty movement, but when the libertarians are sharing it, they kind of are already been preparing. It's kind of more like, I'm prepared for this. Make sure you are too. Double check what you've got to be ready. Make sure you've got your ammo. Make sure you've got protection. Make sure you've got your food, all that. With the normies, they don't have anything. But they're going, oh my God, shit really is about to hit the fan. It really is going to get bad. Maybe I do need to start going to some of my more prepared friends and see if now is really the time where I should start preparing like they do. So, I mean, I guess in a slight way, it's a blessing in disguise for some. Definitely not all. There's still plenty of people out there who don't want to listen. But I'd say maybe a lot of the friends of libertarians, friends of anarchists are a little more open to listening to those friends. So now they're taking us more seriously. So, which is good.
Yeah.
But, none of us want it. Well, I can't say that. I can't say none of us want it to get to that point, because there are plenty of people who wanted to hurry up and just get that collapse going already. They're like, let's just go get it fucking over with, which if I didn't have kids, I'd probably be on that same ball, to be honest. But, I got two little children I got to think about. So I don't know if I'm quite ready for that just yet. But with that said, obviously the point is we all want things to calm down. We want things to just chill. We want things to stop. We want the fear mongering to stop. We want the anger and the hypocrisies and the, threats of civil war, all that. We wanted to just stop entirely. That's why we're anarchists, because we don't want that stuff in the end.
Yes.
We're just kind of like, if that's what happens to get it to stop, then all right.
Yeah. Oh, and be sure to, so that these conversations between the various different groups that Harley's just mentioned, make sure that you get your backups ready. Get your backups ready. Don't be 100% reliant on the likes of Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, or get yourselves set up on accounts like on Minds, on Steemit, on Diaspora, on Social, on Sapien. There are lots of very different blockchain and social media platforms. I mean, I'm not going to advise MeWe because I had some really, really bad. It's like Facebook.
I tried MeWe.
But
I didn't like the format. I didn't like it.
I mean, it wasn't so much the format that bothered me. It was people speaking without a filter. It's like I can speak without a filter, therefore I'm going to. It's like it's because I'm not going to be punished or
Mhm.
ostracized for saying something silly or foolish or inappropriate. I'm going to say it. It's like, so it's like, oh, I can come on here and I can say fuck this person or fuck that person, and it's like, well, yeah, of course you can, but is it absolutely necessary? I mean, you can say f that person if they, or F this person or F that person on most social medias anyway. Just don't say F this group or F that group. That's what you. So that's one of the reasons why I don't particularly like MeWe, because it's just post after post after post of profanity laden messages,
It's
saying
just a
something nasty
toxic
about someone.
environment. It's nothing but negativity
Yeah,
and
exactly.
anger.
Yeah.
Everyone's using it to vent, and
It's
it's not really
it's not really
uplifting.
conversations. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
I
it's
read this
just
interesting article. Can we have a
right.
conversation about it? And it's like, yeah, no, F that. And I'm, oh, for
Like
God's
it's
sake.
good to have a place where you can feel like safe to express certain things,
Mhm.
but at the same time, when you only really have one source to do that, that becomes the main place where you do it, and then that's where everybody's doing it, and it's just this nasty, just it's nothing but negativity the whole time, and that's not really good for anybody. I
No,
don't
it's
even mean
not.
like in a we need to censor it kind of way. I just mean like putting yourself in an environment where all you see is negativity and all you express is negativity. It's just not healthy. It
Yeah, it's
wears
going to rub
everybody
off on
down more
you.
than they realize. It builds up, and it doesn't make you feel good. Like it
Yeah,
might make you feel good in the short term because you got it all out, but ultimately it's gonna wear you out when you're just negative after negative after negative interaction.
yeah.
Nah,
If the if the if if
that's
the
does things to your brain.
yeah, if the if the social convent if the if the social convention on a platform just becomes, I'm going to behave like an asshole. You might not necessarily behave like an asshole all the time, but if you're constantly on a platform where everybody's constantly behaving like an asshole, then
Right.
you're going to end up falling into that social convention.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
gonna you
if you
kind of
go,
shape into it,
yeah,
and
exactly. You
nah,
don't want that to happen, because
no.
if you then go back to, go back onto another platform. I mean, let's say hypothetically that that Parler wins their injunction against Amazon and they're reinstated, and then everyone's Parler comes back to normal. But you've spent like 2 or 3 weeks on MeWe where it's just been F this and F that, and I hate it, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, what, I don't know, how am I supposed to act? It reminds me of a great scene, an absolutely great scene from a movie called Hamburger Hill, where you've got a bunch of army guys and they're all sat down, and this one, the doc sets up, and it's like, how are you gonna act when because of the way you're acting now in the field, is that what you're going to be like when you go back home? You need to check yourself. You need to keep yourself in check, or you'll find yourself sat at dinner at home with your mum, and you'll be like, hey, ma, can you please pass the fucking peas? It's like, because you've fallen into the trap of constant using F this and F that in every single sentence, because that's what the social norm was, when you're around your army buddies, using industrial language. But you need to know when to use it and when to not use it. So yeah, I would argue that. So yeah, I mean, because if you go on something like Minds, I mean, I've had the account for donkey's year for ages, but I don't use it. I think I subscribe to you and one other person, and that's it.
Oh my god! So I'm already pissing people off on mines apparently, and I wasn't trying to, but apparently I already am. I yeah, created a mines account, and all my followers were all people I already knew of on Twitter. So I took that. A lot of you are familiar with that newest copy pasta, but from the guy from Mensa who has a skyrocketing IQ and all that, right? That was spreading like wildfire. So I copied that and I put that there as one of my very first posts on Minds. And now I've got people who have no idea. People, I don't know who they are. I don't know how they found me or anything. Coming in and going, wow, arrogant much, things like that, and downvoting. I'm like, guys, it's a fucking joke. It literally says tweet. This isn't Twitter. We're not tweeting. It's a fucking joke. Get over yourselves. Good Lord. Look at my profile. Look at everything else I've posted. Do I look like a serious person?
And that's what I mean. I've because I don't use Minds and because I'm not sure what Minds is. It's like people are taking what the social convention is on Facebook and what the social convention is on Twitter and applying that to Minds, and it's like. No, being, doing, you may respond in that way and in that kind on Facebook and Twitter, but Minds is not Facebook and Twitter. So
it's Twitter, but you can say the R word.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
There's no, I mean, I use Pinterest. And on Pinterest, there's nothing, I don't see any nasty or anything like, I mean, somebody pinned one of my, pins, someone commented on one of my pins earlier on, and I'm like, oh, that was nice.
Bored ass wine moms sitting there getting crunk on their little minions wine. Like, that's why. They're not there to freaking tear down the government. They're there to put up rainbow shit in their house and get wasted and then pretend they're not alcoholics because it's wine and therefore not hard liquor.
Yeah, it's only 12% alcohol.
I don't like wine mom culture. I'm just gonna make that clear right now. Like, come on, stop! You're drinking a whole bottle of wine a night, and you're like, I'm not an alcoholic. Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
anyway.
there are alternatives out there. You've just kind of got to find, what's right for you, what's good for you. You really, you just need to find out what's good for you. But yeah, if you do find an alternative, don't go full Twitter or full Facebook. The reason why it's a different social media platform and the reason why people are joining it's because it's not Twitter, it's not Facebook. So if you take your Facebook and your Twitter social conventions to these newer platforms, well,
I don't know if that's necessarily fair to say because, to be fair, people are literally looking for a substitute for Facebook and Twitter. Like, that's why they're going to Minds and other sources, because they're going, okay, I want Twitter, I want Facebook. However, those running it are doing things I absolutely do not agree with, or because they flat out got kicked. And which, I know Facebook, we all know Twitter's been kicking accounts like crazy. But then Facebook, I guess, has just been weird about it. I don't know if it's just like an algorithm thing that's gone wild or what. But like, I keep saying, oh gosh, I saw one. I've got this person on Twitter and Facebook, and they said that they got a suspension just like the other day off of Twitter for calling themselves a whore. And this person is literally a sex worker. Like, they're like, I call myself a whore. I'm literally a sex worker. Why the fuck would I get kicked for that? But yeah, I mean, it's weird.
I didn't know if
I've been seeing some of my friends be like, oh yeah, I got suspended because I said the F word on one of my own posts and things like that. And it's like, okay, when did this happen?
Yeah.
Like,
you're not allowed to be self-deprecating anymore. That's that's an unusual
weird
one. I must admit, that's a strange one.
Well, that's what keeps happening. That's my thing. It's like, it's not even like, I mean, we know, like, they kicked off Ron Paul, but it's not even just that. It's just stuff that doesn't make any sense. Like, people of all types and all demographics getting, all political stances, etc., getting kicked off of Facebook for really dumb things like that. So it's like, okay, are you okay there, Facebook? You need to calm down for a minute. Just why? Like, it's a little odd. So I don't know. They need to put down the tequila or something over on Facebook land, but.
Yeah, lots of demonetizing going on. Which to be honest with you, isn't something I have an issue with. I only take issue with demonetization when the organization or the company that is demonetizing you continues to make money off you. And I'm like, whoa. Hey, if you're not, you know what? You won't let me run ads on my content. That's fine. But you don't get to put ads on my stuff and make money off me. If I can't make money from ads, you shouldn't be making money from ads. So, because I know that there are lots and lots of content creators out there that never run ads on their stuff. They have a subscriber-based or a donation-based financial model. Which I think's great, and I think that's fine. And they never ever put ads on their stuff, and then all of a sudden, YouTube start throwing ads on their stuff. It's like, excuse me, I don't put ads, and I'm not allowed to be monetized. You can't you're not allowed to make money from me. Okay,
Yeah,
stop it.
that's
Naughty.
that's crappy. But yeah, I know. So it's everyone, but yeah, that's the whole thing. Is like everybody's confused because they don't know what's going to happen to them. And then it seems like a lot of these places who are the ones that can actually do something to people don't even know what they're doing either, and they're confused because they just, I don't know. Everybody's confused. Everybody's generally confused. So yeah, the fear is back up. The paranoia is getting back up. For a while last week, I was seeing people sharing these videos and reports of I don't know if it's still going on, but Italy and Pakistan were dealing with mass blackouts. I think it was just phone and internet. I think I could be wrong on that, but I know after that was going on, then all these videos were emerging of Washington D.C. theoretically bracing for impact and preparing for something along those lines, and bringing in massive generators over. And some say it's because of the blackouts, like what Pakistan and Italy are going through. And so, what if the U.S. is going to be next? Others are saying it's because everyone is expecting just more riots and protests at DC, or even I've been seeing rumors that every capital has been in every state has been told to prepare for an attack on every capital city by who even knows. There's just all kinds of severe speculation right now. So, I mean, if you honestly, now's a good time to just check your emergency storage crap, make sure you are good to go. Make sure you've got backups, you've got people, the most important people's phone numbers or contact information at, whatever, not just in your phone, but written down somewhere. You may or may not be able to use your phones, who even knows, but just get prepared, just to be, don't be all paranoid like when everybody was hoarding toilet paper, but
Yeah, I
just
don't think
polish
that's
up
gonna.
your supplies and just get yourself in an
Yeah,
okay position.
I can't see
just
the
in
toilet
case.
paper thing happening again. To be honest with
Oh,
you.
it started here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no,
I don't
that's
think.
already been starting here.
I don't think that's going to happen in. I don't think that's going to happen in Illinois again, because there was a bunch of people that did that, and then when they realized they didn't need to do it, and they started taking it back to the stores were like, no, no returns.
Yeah,
Terribly sorry,
sucks
you
to
just
be
blew
you.
$100 on toilet
Right.
paper. We
Sucks to
didn't
be
have
you.
a shortage, but you now have like 3 years supply of toilet paper. So please kindly take your 2 shopping trolleys full of toilet paper back home. We ain't doing a refund, because that's what happened here. Was that there were shortages on certain things, and then people tried to bring it back, and after the initial few days of things that were run out, and the supply chain was able to catch up with it, a bunch of people that tried to hoard on that stuff realized they didn't need to hoard on that stuff, tried to get refunds on it, and the Walmarts and the Myers were like, hey, your problem. You blew $200 on something you didn't need. You shouldn't have done that. So
Apparently, Arizona was actually, I don't know if we were like the worst state in regards to toilet paper panic, but apparently we were the top trending state in regards to toilet paper panic. Like, I don't know if there's necessarily like, exact correlation, but but I guess Arizona was like the one, I don't know, some kind of statistic where like, I don't know if we were the ones absolutely hoarding them the most, or if we just had the most paranoia, something like that. But yeah, Arizona was apparently like way up there as far as the toilet paper panic went. And that's kind of been fluctuating off and on again a little bit lately, which I don't exactly know why. Because as far as I know, we haven't had any immediate threat that would necessarily cause the general public to get back to that point. I mean, maybe it could have just been because of the COVID spike cases. So people were like, oh no, we better be prepared in case, in case this gets even worse and we got to do more lockdowns. So everyone kind of jumped the gun on it, perhaps. That's really the only thing I can think of. I don't know.
I mean, there were. I think it was. I think it was supply chains thinking, oh, but this, the purchasing of these items is going to go into overdrive. We need to mass order this stuff, because I mean, for months and months and months now, you've been able to go into any dollar store, whether it's Dollar Tree, it doesn't matter what it is, any store, any Aldi, and you go to where hand sanitizer or or disinfectant wipes or anything like, any kind of tissues, anything like that. And there are masses and masses of these products, and it's all being sold on the cheap because nobody's buying it in the regular formats or in the hoarding amounts that were initially anticipated earlier on in 2020. So now all of these dollar stores and stuff, like, they've literally got pallets of hand sanitizer, pallets of tissues, pallets of wet wipes. And they're all trying to sell it cheap because people were like, well, I don't want to buy 10 bottles of hand sanitizer. I do not want to buy 10 thingies I'm just going to buy one when I go out for my shopping at a week.
I won't say that we're necessarily like in a surplus of that, but I mean, I have noticed that the dollar stores now, we've got them like a little more than extra right up front for people to grab and purchase. We're not in any sort of shortage of hand sanitizer anymore, from what I can tell. Some things are still a little wonky, like mason jars. I'm not the only one who's noticed either. I asked another Arizona friend of mine, and he said the same thing. We both noticed that mason jars are kind of hit or miss. Sometimes there's some in stock, and sometimes you can't find nothing, and it seems to kind of fluctuate. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that's also because people are just bracing for impact, even though they probably don't know what the hell they're doing with mason jars.
I must admit, I am three things I've been stockpiling on, but I've been collecting them since probably about halfway through last year. Any jar, and I do mean any jar, any size jar, small ones, big ones, whether it had a bolognese sauce in it, a pasta sauce in it, a curry sauce. It does not matter what sauce was in it. Every time that gets emptied, it gets washed and it gets put away. Mayonnaise, garlic, the ones with the plastic, great big long ones that mayo was in, or garlic was in, or anything. So those, every single time one of those gets emptied and finished and used, it gets washed out, it gets rinsed out, the lid gets screwed on and it goes on the drawer. And then the final one is, those plastic tubs with just the clip-on one for the like cream cheese or sour cream or yogurt, those plastic ones. Yeah, those ones as well. So I've been, every single time we've bought something and then the product's been used, that's been washed out, it gets cleaned, and it either gets put in the cupboard downstairs or it gets put on the shelf down here, because I am fully expecting when the planting season kicks in here, I am going to go into overdrive regarding the purchase, regarding growing anything that can be liquefied, put into one of those containers, and then sealed and either frozen or put on a shelf.
I've got some extra jars. I usually use jars for like kombucha and stuff like that, but I didn't really have a whole lot of space initially to put a whole ton extra in. Now I do have much more storage space now, so I'm going to be, I have some jars on hand still. It's been so hard to freaking find mason jars in general. So, I mean, they, not just because they were in shortage, but because the prices were really jacked up. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to be okay for right now. I'm just going to wait until they're cheaper. Mm-hmm. So I still have some jars. I'm going to kind of messing with canning a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. Hopefully they have some in stores. It's just because canning is not something I've done a whole lot. I've done it before. I've definitely done it before. I've done it a few times in my life. It's just not something I regularly did, but I'd like to get more into it. So, mm-hmm. But again, I've been
canning's a bit
for the worst for a while, so it's not like I'm in detrimental need. I did go to Costco and restock on like beans and rice and stuff. Well, I had a decent amount of beans, but I did have to use up the rice because it's been a really freaking tough year. So I did have to use up the rice. So I just kind of replenished that again over the weekend. So, I mean, overall, things aren't too bad, but there's just so much uncertainty. When there's uncertainty, people do really stupid things, and you just want to be prepared for when people do stupid things.
Yeah, no, I'm getting ready for. I will definitely be getting ready this growing season, so that I can store, because we've got one of those vacuum sealers. So we've got, because those vacuum sealers are absolutely brilliant. I mean, they're really,
Yeah, I've got
really
one
good.
too, actually.
So I've got one of
Haven't
those.
used it yet, but I've got one.
So I've got a vacuum sealer. So there's gonna. I mean, there are going to be. I'm gonna have at least between 20 and 30 tomato plants this year. Easily 20 to 30. We had so much wasted the previous year that it just fell on the ground. Didn't have to plant not one single tomato plant, not one, and I got 22 last year without having to plant a single seed. So I'm fully expecting the exact same thing to occur this year. So tomatoes really need, tomatoes and peppers. There's going to be a massive abundance of those. Zucchinis for sure, definitely. Going to go to going to go to town on those. Anything that can be either put in a sealed bag or dumped into a jar with put some oil with some garlic cloves and stuff like that, just to keep it preserved. And then it's going in a jar, it's going on a shelf, and it will just get very, very slowly used. I still have two. Yes, I still have 2 bags in our freezer of tomatoes from the prepping I did last year. So and that was so tomatoes that I bagged and froze 8 months ago. It's still in the freezer. That's how much, that was how much we did. Because, like I said, jar, liquefied, poured in, lid on, in the freezer for just constantly, all of them.
I'm probably gonna make up some, like, I don't know. I've got the storage Mylar bags and the little oxygen absorber thingy things for jerky and stuff like that, and I've got a dehydrator. I'm probably going to start doing some dehydrated stuff and storing things that way, and just spending more time learning how to do that. I mean, I know the basic gist. I've done this kind of stuff before. It's just not something that I did very often, but I just want to get more into it. So
well, I mean, do you have an air fryer?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you can That's how we do our. That's how we do.
No, I have a dehydrator too. I have a giant dehydrator.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't need to use the air fryer.
So we don't have a dehydrator, but the way that we
it's just I have one. I've used it a few times. I've used it for dried fruits. I've used it for jerkies, mostly for jerky, really. But yeah, no, I have the stuff to do it. It's just I've just been so busy managing other stuff in my life. I just haven't really focused on doing more with it.
Yeah, no. One of the other things I'm planning on getting before the end of the year, before the growing season starts as well, is one of those small. It's not really. It can be used as a greenhouse, but it can also be used as like cutting off the environment in order to sun dry stuff. Because obviously you've got the sun dried tomatoes, so it'd be nice to be able to have a not a vacuum sealed, but somewhere where that you can put it outside, and once the whole thing has been hermetically sealed, you put the hose on to obviously then suck everything out of it, so that you can just literally leave things on trays and it just sits there, and it doesn't cook in the sun, but it dries. So plans to do that, and then obviously once it's dried, you can take it out of that, put it into a bag, vacuum seal it so there's no moisture in it and the air has been sucked out. So, and then once that's in those sealed bags, you can shove that on a shelf, and depending on what it is, you can get 2 to 3 years with sun-dried stuff.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. I'd have to double check the time, but I mean, if you're just looking for something for 12 months, that's fine.
Right. Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I was looking like the jerky kind of stuff. Cause like I'm looking into both long-term and short-term, and kind of just using what I can get, so that's why I kind of got like the stuff for the jerky. So I think the jerky lasts I think it was 6 months in those bags, if I remember correctly. Maybe it was 6 months to a year or something like that. So I mean, not like years down the road, but it'll last a decent while for the future. And I actually kind of thought about looking into the costs for small actual greenhouse setups, because there's land here. I mean, there's space where I could theoretically set one up. I wanted to start building raised garden beds, and I'd have to put chicken wire around them and all, because there's freaking wildlife everywhere. I swear the javelina eat just about anything I plant, and it pisses me off. But
Hmm.
I thought about looking into that, because most of the year it's just too hot for anything, and I don't really have trees. I don't have natural shade so much. Everything is like right in the sun for the most part. Or I mean, if I put it against one of the fenced areas where it's blocked by cacti, that's one thing. But inside the fence, I've got a couple of dogs that like to dig stuff up. They've actually managed to freaking dig up an entire huge petal cactus from the roots, because they like to chase lizards under there. And then they dig up the lizards and they dig up my cacti in the process. And then on the other side, it's exposed to all the wildlife and everything eats it. So I can't really win in either situation there. So I'm thinking I might either look into just like a small like greenhouse tent setup thing where I can stick some planters in there and do some basic stuff, maybe tomatoes, pepper plants, zucchini, that kind of stuff. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just so hot around here most of the year. It's like it's impossible to raise stuff most of the time. It's not easy.
yeah. No,
Things
I mean,
just
here
fly.
at this, I mean, where I'm just looking to be able to store, have store as much as possible to last until the next growing season. So I don't really need to be able to store stuff for years. I just need to be able to store stuff for like 12 months.
Right.
So that I can, everything that doesn't get used while it's, because I mean, I'll use the tomatoes and zucchinis and peppers and onions and peas and carrots as and when I need it. I'll just walk down to the garden. If I need a carrot, if I need some peas, if I need some potatoes, I'll just pull up what I need to use. But if what needs to be pulled up and put away because the tomato plants go nuts or the zucchini plants go nuts, we can't eat it. I need to be able to peel, chop, slice, do it, and I need to be able to store that some way. So either dehydrating and putting in a vacuum seal bag, or simply putting it straight into a freezer bag and putting it in the freezer. I need to be able to store like 12 months worth in order to just get me to the other end.
I'm just trying to kind of do a mixture, because it doesn't hurt to have both. Because again, a lot of the stuff that I can also get for the short term, or good for short term emergency use, is stuff that I can get relatively easy or cheaper. I can go to Costco and get pretty good deals on like pork loins and such, and I can have some of that in the freezer for in case things are hoarded and I can't get meat for a week or two. Or I can also turn that into jerky, make that last for several months.
Mm-hmm.
But then just stocking up on the extra stuff like dry beans, dry rice, whatever, which is going to last a hell of a lot longer. It just doesn't hurt to be well rounded as far as I'm concerned.
So we're both getting ready for another year of prepping.
Yep.
Or thinking about it anyway.
Doesn't hurt to just do it. That's what I keep trying to tell people, because they'll, a lot of my friends, they'll tell me, oh, we just don't have the money to prep. I'm like, literally just spend like an extra $5 and get some cans of soup, like, little bits at a time, get some dried beans, just, you don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to invest in a big ass pantry and all this emergency stuff. It just little bits at a time, trickle into it. And, most of the time they wouldn't listen to me. And, meanwhile, I'm watching them buy all these, $50 makeup palettes they don't need, and, bottle of wine every night and all. And I'm just like, no, you have the money to do it. You just don't want to do it because it's not as fun. And because you don't want to be considered a crazy prepper.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. You don't want the title of crazy prepper. You don't want to listen to the preppers because media said they're crazy. And now you're sitting there going, shit, I wish we had emergency stuff. And now I have to fight crowds and risk getting COVID because I didn't prepare earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Little bits at a time. That's all it takes. It's all, that there's literally no harm in that. And it's not even just because, oh my God, what if apocalypse? What if, whatever. It's like, we're in a situation right now. Say you do get COVID. You're so afraid of getting COVID. How you and your whole household now has to be quarantined for 2 weeks. Are you prepared to be quarantined for 2+ weeks? No access to getting food. You can't have people at your house. Are you prepared for that? And or even if it wasn't, there's a million reasons why you just need to do it, honestly. But people don't want to hear that because that's crazy.
Aliens. What if
That's
aliens come down and they start, snaffling people up, and you need to go dark in the basement of your house,
Yeah.
Just think War of the Worlds, because that's what that's what you would have needed to have done. You would have needed to go dark in your basement and just eat on a little stove and cook up your beans and stuff. Because think about this as well. Every time you empty a carton of milk, wash it out, fill it with water, stick it on a shelf.
Well, I just get the jugs because they're sealed and there's less risk of mold contamination, and they're only $1 a gallon, if that. I think they're like 68 cents a gallon. Just get a couple of those when you go. It's literally like $1.50. If you can afford your freaking Ben and Jerry's, if you can afford your freaking Jeffree Star limited edition makeup palette, if you can afford the new pair of shoes or some shit, you can afford to get 2 gallons of water and stash them away somewhere. We just had a situation here at home where our sewer main was clogged, and water had to be shut off for a while so we can get that unclogged. And guess what really came in handy? Having emergency jugs of water, because we had to shut the water off. There's a million reasons why you can do it. And so, my kids are complaining they're thirsty, water shut off, trying to get the freaking the sewer main unclogged, and I'm just like, I am smart because I've got water stored. Yay me! Congrats me! It's that simple.
Yeah. And when you are shopping, look, if think about the whole pasta sauce thing, right? So you can get pasta sauce in a tin or in a jar. Now, once you've used the tin, you're not going to be able to reuse it. So just think to yourself, right? Okay, so I'm gonna get myself a couple of extra containers of pasta sauce, because the best by date on it is like 2 years. Just think to yourself, well, get jars. Because once you've opened the can and you've thrown it away, it's not as easy to reuse the can that you've opened as it is to
You just want to make
jar.
sure you have the right lids, because you can't reseal lids once they've been sealed. And so your food's likely it's not going to last as long unless you have a lid that properly fits it and you can seal it properly. So that's another thing to have on hand too, is just an extra surplus of canning lids, because otherwise your food, depending what it is, it's going to last a couple of weeks to a month versus years.
Yeah. Oh, well, aren't we just full of pearls of wisdom today?
Or it could be full of shit. I don't know. Hopefully I'm telling you guys the right information.
Yes, hopefully we are.
I'm alive so far, if that means anything.
What else? Okay, what else? What else should we talk about today?
There was another thing that happened. I can't think of it.
You can see the cogs turning, wheels ticking. The little
Not
mouse
really.
in the machine.
I'm tired. It's been a freaking busy week. It's been one thing after another.
Yes.
Thankfully stuff hasn't been as bad as it could have been. Things worked pretty well, but my focus has honestly kind of just been like, get the bumpy stuff taken care of and prepared for other bumpy stuff that could be coming down the road. Oh gosh, actually, it's another thing I was just saying earlier is I keep telling myself I need to watch tutorials on how to do emergency first aid. Like if I'm fairly rural. It takes a good bit of time for an ambulance to get here. And if I need to give myself stitches, or if I need to give my kids stitches, I better know how to do it. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to watch that.
Yeah.
That's nasty.
I must admit.
I need to learn emergency first aid. I need to learn how to pull a bullet out of my ass if I got to. But I don't want to. It's going to be gross, but I know I need to do it.
Yeah, no, the British Red Cross stuff I did when I was a kid, and the battlefield first aid stuff that I learned when I was when I was in the army. Definitely useful stuff to be able to
Oh, sure. I actually
useful to
once.
be able. I mean, knowing how to resuscitate somebody,
Oh, well, sure.
knowing how to get someone breathing again, knowing.
Oh, well, yeah,
I'd say
that's the
that
less scary
two.
stuff. It's
Yeah.
not like I don't want to because it's boring. It's because, ew, I really don't want to watch somebody getting stitches. Like, oh God, exposed bone. I don't want to look at this. That's more what it is.
Oh,
I
and,
mean,
and
like,
I think stuff like that is definitely important. But
it
I
is.
would always. I mean, I would always argue getting someone breathing again that isn't breathing and restarting a heart. You can kind of ham your way into stopping a cut bleeding, and because I've done that myself. I sliced open my finger once and I literally bodged it back together again. I
Oh yeah, I mean
folded
that's
all
what
of the
like
skin
super
back
glue
up.
and stuff. My stepdad did that. He works with knives and stuff frequently, and he just like
Yeah.
chopped like down to I think it was like an inch of his finger down. And it was like dangling and just spraying. He's just so stoic. He's just kind of like, just pulling it up like, well, shit. And if I remember correctly, I think he super glued it before he went into the ER, if I remember right.
Yeah, no, I used bodged it when I sliced into my finger. I wrapped some cloth around it. I ran it under. Obviously, I ran it under a cold tap because I'm thinking,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully I can stop it. And I ran it under a cold tap for like 10, 15 minutes, and it just would not stop bleeding because the cut was so deep. And I was like, right, okay. So I put, folded it over, and then I wrapped it up in cotton. Then I wrapped it up in tape, and I just until it was like 3 or 4 times the thickness of my finger, and then I just left it. And every now and then I would just change, and that's why I've got this mount. You can't really see it on the camera, but I've got this bump on my finger from the skin that I'd laid over. Because there are certain
I don't
things
know
that you can
how
bodge
I've
your
been
way
able
through,
to.
and then there are certain things that you can't. So, but
I've
first
been
aid
able
and
to
field first aid.
manage. Yeah, I've been able to manage to avoid getting severe cuts. I mean, I have scars all over the place, but they're mostly like dumb wildlife rehab scars, rabbit raising scars, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had some that have cut pretty darn deep for sure, but I never like went to get stitch. I've never had stitches done or anything like that before. I usually just kind of hold it tight, hold it shut, and wait a while. And then after the bleeding kind of stops, I'll like put some raw, because I'm old fashioned like that. I put raw honey on it and then I bandage it up real good. So I mean, I can avoid that kind of stuff. I mean, gosh, I've got my freaking busted hand. I didn't go to the ER for my busted knuckle either. I didn't go anywhere for it, which maybe was not the smartest idea because I can't bend it anymore. But no ER bill, and I can still mostly use it. So I mean, not all is lost.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to fix yourself from time to time. Being able to fix
Honestly,
yourself,
yeah, I
it's
don't
kind
like
of
going to the
important.
doctors. I really don't. They always do something to piss me off. They're always overpriced. I don't like it. So if I can avoid it, I avoid it. I mean, obviously I had to go to the doctors for like, my cesareans and stuff, but let's see. I think the only times I really, really severely, absolutely had to go, I did, well, and they screwed this up too. I fell off my bunk bed when I was like 10 years old and I landed right on the palm of my hand, but at the angle my whole arm like bent forward. So the back of my hand was like touching my forearm.
Ouch.
Oh yeah. I mean, like, you can only really like 90-degree angle it. No, it went all the way back. So
Yeah,
I went to
that's an ouch. That's a serious ouch.
yeah, it was a very serious ouch. So I got taken to the doctor. They're like, "Oh, we think it's fractured. We don't think it's quite broken. We think it's just fractured." So they had me in what they called a half cast for like 6 weeks, and then they went to check on my arm to see if it had healed enough for them to take it off, and they went, "It was more broken than we thought it was." So here's another 6 weeks, but with a real cast this time. So they screwed that up too. So I had to do that. I had to get antibiotics a few times because of severe allergic vaccination allergies. And I did have whooping cough as a baby. I did actually have whooping cough as a baby, me and my mom both. But I lived. So hey. But otherwise, yeah, that's really the main times I've ever had to use hospital. Like, I mean, I've gone a couple other times because of scares that could have been a hell of a lot worse. And every time I go, I'm like, oh, I can't figure out what's wrong. So here's a bunch of medicine. I'm just like, fuck it. If I'm not going to die immediately, I'll handle it my way.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I did. I don't, unless they say you are going to die unless you take this medication, I don't take it. Honestly, I do it my way. So yeah, I really should learn actual ERs kind of stuff though. Stitching, removing. Actually, I did once watch a tutorial on how to use a fish hook barrel cactus to sew up a wound. So I mean, that's pretty.
If you want to practice oranges, perfect thing to practice on.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what? Oranges to sew up a wound? Like, how the fuck?
Yeah, no. Cut open. Cut a gash in an orange and sew up. That's a good way. It's a good way to practice, because it's kind of like how you would need to deal with it. It's similar to the thickness and how you would need to go with the needle on skin. So orange is a good practice.
I mean, I've done similar stuff with like leather, and other stuff. So I mean, I feel like if I really had to, I could do it. But good Lord, imagining the pain. Oh my God. That's just, I just hope I never have to do that. No, thank you.
Yeah, well, another field one is...
It's ironic because, like, it's also just like needles. Like, I can get pierced just fine, but I have to look away from it. I cannot watch myself get pierced. If I watch myself get pierced, it's like, nope, and then I'm on the ground.
Yeah, you can use the obviously you don't want anything physically in the can, but the aerosol on an empty can, something that no longer has what's being sprayed out, so all that's left is the aerosol itself. If you've ever put an aerosol close to the skin, it'll freeze.
Yeah,
it'll feel like it's freezing. It'll numb an area. So that is, using an empty can that still has a little bit of aerosol left in it. That's a good way to numb an area that then needs to be stitched up. Because I doubt very much that sewing up something without numbing an area like they do in the movie. Yeah, sure, yeah. They're there, not going, oh my God, please stop.
Oh no,
please. It's like they're just there going. They're just going.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I like that's just, it's not even a pain thing for me though. Like, I'm covered in piercings. I've got 3 different tattoos, one of which has been covered up at one point too. Like, it's not a pain thing. It's just looking at it. It's not right. It's so gross. It's so that's what it is, really.
Yeah. No. I mean, it's
nasty shit.
Reality and the movies are 2 completely different things. I mean, I just watched that. I just watched the that Run, Hide, Fight movie, and there was a scene in that where there's a scene in that where the female lead literally has her hand stomped on, and it does the sound of bones cracking and stuff like that, and she does not move. And I'm thinking to myself, you winced and whimpered when you were shot, but someone puts their full weight on your hand. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not criticizing the movie. The person standing, she was pretending to be dead.
It's like, do any of you know what it's like to actually go through pain? Actually, it makes me think of when Christopher Lee, which was it, as Sauron? No, what was it? I don't remember. I can't think of which movie it was, but or not Sauron, but Saruman. I can't think of which movie it was, but like Christopher Lee was told, like, just pretend you're going through the pain of getting stabbed, like when you're screaming like you're in pain, pretend you're getting stabbed. And he's like, I don't have to pretend to know what that feels like, or actually, like in Lord of the Rings, at this scene where Aragorn he kicks the helmet because they thought that Merry and Pippin had been killed, so he kicks the helmet screaming, except that's an actual scream because he broke his fucking toe when he kicked the helmet. Yeah, right, like You know, but it's like that's really the only time it's legit. Because other times, yeah, you're sitting there and it's like that would hurt so much more, or it's like that doesn't hurt anywhere near as much as you're making it out to be. That's nowhere near as bloody as you're making it out to be. Okay, you should be bleeding to death by now. It's never accurate.
Yeah, no, Jackie Chan's a perfect example of that because obviously, you know, in his 80s and 90s movies, I mean, he still does his own stunts, but he did like all of his stunts.
Oh yeah.
And there'd be these scenes where he gets smacked or hit with something, and you can just see him comically going, ow, 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 and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, that's because it hurts. You know, right? if you don't want it to hurt, get a stunt double, dude. Seriously.
My biological father was very into Jackie Chan movies. And I remember like this one, I can't tell you which movie it was. I don't remember, but there was one where he like broke his ankle or his foot and they put a cast on him and they freaking painted his cast to look like his other shoes.
Yeah, they put a sock. Yeah,
like,
he was jumping. He was the thing, it was innocuous. It was this tiny little jump from the side of a canal onto a hoverboat. And when he landed awkwardly and he broke his foot and he had to put it in a cast so that he could continue filming. They just made a sock to go over the cast that was a mirror image of the trainer and the, you know, yeah. So yeah, I remember because that was one of the sometimes if it was a bad Jackie Chan movie, the best part of the movie would be the end. Where it would show all the bloopers and all of the stunts that either went wrong or nearly went wrong. So, and those would be at the end of every Jackie Chan movie, and they were awesome. That was one of the best parts. It's like, you know, I remember watching them on old VHS cassettes, and it'd be like I would watch the blooper. You know, it'd be like, come on, credits, hurry up and finish, and then it's like, yeah, bloopers.
Oh yeah, there are some times where my father, he didn't want me to watch the whole movie because maybe it was a little too graphic or whatever. But then he'd have me sit there with him and just watch those scenes just so I could admire Jackie Chan with him. Like,
yeah, very good.
I remember a bit of that as a young kid. But same with John Wayne movies. He's actually really into John Wayne movies, but I haven't seen any of them forever either. But yeah, gosh, I don't know. It's something I know I need to learn how to do. But you know, I can handle animal. I mean, again, you know, I've butchered rabbits, you know, plenty of times and all. You know, I work with their parts. I make things with their feet. I process the hides myself. Like, you know, that's not an issue. But when it's people, it's like, oh, that's another story. That's another story.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. Well, I think we've come to the end of the hour, so that's a good place for us to stop, say our thank yous, remind everybody to hit the like, hit the subscribe, comment on the video down below because you know it helps feed the algorithm, which is always good. And Harley, you got anything you want to pimp out this week?
Nothing really all that new just yet. I mean, I've been adding new, you know, products and messing with some new like resin molds and stuff, but nothing too stand out for right now, I guess. I don't know. Anything new I'll be posting up on my Twitter though, and on Minds and on Instagram. I do have an Instagram for my handmade stuff. It's called Rebel Scum Handmade, same name as my Etsy and everything. So I need to get back more on that Instagram. I'm like never on it, which is not a good thing. I need to actually be active on it, but I'm not very good at updating Instagram in general. But otherwise, yeah, that's about it right now.
No worries, no worries. Well, I've got nothing else to talk about. So yes, we will call time on this week's episode. But thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for either listening or watching. And we will see you guys next week. So until next weekend, toodles.
Bye-bye.